Hey, my name's Mark King, bass player with Level 42. I'm an Isle of Wight boy, and I'm here talking to Izzy Russell for Platform 1.
How did you first get involved in music here on the Isle of Wight, and who were your biggest influences?
I started playing music when I got my first drum kit when I was 9 years old. I started as a drummer, even though I'm known primarily as a bass player these days. But I always advise Izzy, any musician, anybody that wants to, singers too, if you can, learn to play drums, because it's such a time is so fundamental to any kind of music at all. It doesn't matter what you play, but if time is always there, and you're either in time or out of time. So learning to play drums is a wonderful way of, one, developing independence, because you have hi-hat, you have bass drum, and you have your snare and your hi-hat, or vice versa. And it's a fantastic thing. And I was lucky because I just always wanted to play drums. I got my first drum kit when I was 9, and then I joined the first band proper when I was 11. So when I was 11 years old, I was playing in hotels and holiday camps around the island, doing 3 nights a week. And that told me that you could make a living doing this. And I remember at that time, I think my dad was only on about 18, 19 pounds a week, and I was earning 15 quid a week, just doing 3 nights a week. And I think my dad then thought, yeah, there's something in this. So mum and dad were really, really supportive.
What's it like being a self-employed musician in the music industry?
Well, from where I'm sitting, it's pretty good. But then I've been doing it for 40 years, so I kind of know how it works. I do think it's harder today than it was for us back when we began in 1980, because you only had live music or the radio or albums. There weren't alternatives. You didn't have things like streaming services and YouTube and all the various things, and SoundCloud and all the ways that you can get your stuff up online now. That just wasn't around. The upside of that is it gives you the ability to be able to produce stuff in small setups just like this, or you do it in your bedroom at home. You've got GarageBand on your computer, and you can make really great sounding music. And if enough people buy it, and you can get it straight out to them, that's wonderful. But it's still a bit hit and miss, and the the pressures are that so many people do it. You can just go on and you can spend the rest of your life looking at new young artists that are trying to get going on YouTube. For us, it was different, because if you wanted to see a band, you had to go out to a club to go and see them, and there weren't that many bands doing it. So if you had something about you that seemed a bit unusual, people will keep coming on and seeing you, and you build up an audience like that. And then when you released a record, they go and buy it. And there was sort of a physicality to it. It wasn't virtual, it was actually real, it was happening. So in some ways it was easier for us than it is for you guys today. But in essence, it's still the same thing, is that you just have to keep at it, keep doing it. Your laughter fills the air. Once more I'm sensing defeat, and I suppose you're leaving me now.
What are the most important skills to have or to develop in order to be a successful live performer?
Obviously the first thing you've got to do is actually get out and start playing live. I see it with my daughter Marley, my youngest daughter Marley. She's been in London now for 4 years, and because she wants to be a singer and a musician, and a guitarist, but you can't just jump into it. And even if your dad's well known and famous, that there's no shortcut into this. She's got to do it the same way that everybody else has, because you stand and fall on your own abilities and your own talents. But the way you learn is just to go out and do it. You'll find it very hard if you just think you can do it sitting at home. You can't. You have to get out and play in front of people and perform and understand what some kind of interaction is between an audience and the performer. And it's not easy, it doesn't come naturally to everybody. Some people it comes really natural to, and I think we all know who they are. you know, your likes of your Freddie Mercury's and your David Bowie's and stuff, they just have a great way of being able to completely connect right off the bat. First time we went into Europe, we supported the Police. There were 5 shows around Germany, and we'd gone from playing these sort of little 200, 300, 400 capacity clubs who were really into jazz funk to going out and opening for the Police in 5,000 and 6,000 seat sports arenas. And that was such a wake up. And because the very first night we made the mistake of just doing what we do in the clubs, which is pretty much looking at our feet and just looking at each other, almost like terrified of the fact that there's 5,000 people just here looking at you going, well, come on, mate, you know, what are you going to do? Only in German. And they started booing. And that was a really good wake-up call, because we all came off and had a good talk to each other. And the next night we went on and we went, right, you know, you're going to have this. And by actually sort of really, really projecting yourself, it made a hell of a difference. And we actually got cheered off that night, you know, and from then on. So there was a good lesson to learn. But it doesn't come naturally, I don't think, to only to the minority, you know.
What is the importance of networking and making connections with other industry personnel?
Yeah, making connections is important. I think networking is what they call it. So sort of putting your face out there and going to events or gigs where you know there are going to be people that can be influential and influencers within the business that we work in. That's always good, you know. And just for an example, when we sort of started in 1980, and by the time we got to 1994, we'd done world tours and played like Wembley Arena 22 times, for example. So we went from that to, I just sort of pulled the plug on it because we've been doing it for nearly 15 years, and I really needed to take a break, as did Mike Lindup. Boone and Phil had already left, way back in '87. But '94, I wanted just to stop and see what else would happen. And there's an old saying which is really true, and that is that stay close to the fire, otherwise you get cold. And that's exactly how it works. You know, the business isn't waiting for you. You have to put yourself into the business, if you can see the difference. You know, so even having a really good profile and sold millions of records, as soon as you take your foot off the gas and you step away from it, the next guys are in there and you're kind of left out in the cold. So how I sort of turned that around for myself was, I had a chat with my agent, Neil Warnock, because it occurred to me one day that maybe I needed to be going to more events and things like, charitable events and bits and pieces, just to get your face back in there. And that people see you around and they go, oh, that's so-and-so. Yeah, blimey, I wonder what he was up to these days and stuff. So that whole networking thing and putting yourself out there and putting yourself about, for you guys at Platform One, get up the strings. Every time you see a gig on the Isle of Wight, go there, be there. And so that people will go, hey, didn't I see you at such and such? And you start getting some kind of little network going. And then, the next thing you know, Rob the Bank stood there in the corner and you can sidle up with him, or John Giddings. And if you're playing too, you can actually get them to see you and they go, you're really good. Do you want to come on the introducing stage or something like that, My daughter Marley, as I was saying earlier on, so she works in a pub in London. That's how she makes her living. That's what she lives off of. But she also jams, and they have a few music nights in there, and she got up and played one night. It just happened to be the bosses were in there. And they said, you're really good, Marley, because they're Irish. That was Irish, by the way. You're really good. Do you fancy doing Marley Mondays on a Monday night? Come in and play for 2 hours. And she did that. And it's been fantastic for her because so many people, you never know who's going to be in the audience when you're doing these things. Somebody will see you, There used to be a club, Ryde Airport, which is where McDonald's is now, called the Babaloo Club. And that's where in 1980 we played. And a guy from Polydor Records happened to be there. And he saw us, and that's how we got signed to Polydor Records. So you have to put yourself out, you have to network, you have to sort of get out there and do it. It's really important.
Mark King, thanks for talking to me. Again.
Hey, I know this bit. You're very welcome, Izzy, and good luck. And to everyone at Platform One too, good luck, guys. It's a great business.